My Adventures of Superman, episode 7, Kiss Kiss Fall in a Portal. And it should have been called Lois Lane's. Lois Lane's is, or should have been called Multiverse. I don't know. The title just didn't match the episode. And it's your boy Icon with a DC TV review. Going over that Superman, My Adventures of Superman. And I definitely have a lot of comments to say about this one, because last week I thought we were going into Grodd territory and we ended up getting the Brain and the Gorilla. And this time, now we've entered the multiverse. So Clark, he takes Jimmy and Lois, he takes them to where his spaceship is because he wants to be honest and show them that he wants to be a real friend and blah, blah, blah. So Jimmy immediately starts freaking out. He starts freaking out over the ship. Lois, she told him, she was like, well, although we can't change the lies that we're told, that maybe we could start over. So they try to start over. Clark finally asks her out on the date, and then we never talk about the ship again or anything that has to do inside with it. And I'm just like, that was weird. So now that we've abandoned the spaceship storyline, now we're going on a date. Clark is preparing for the date, and Lois is preparing for the date, and both of them are actually going overboard and overthinking the entire thing. Jimmy looking at them like they crazy. First, he told Clark, he was just like, listen, you finally got the date. He was like, don't you think you're going a little overboard? And then Clark was like, no, it has to be perfect. So he's like, all right, I'm going to go talk to Lois then, because apparently you over here losing it. He goes and talks to Lois, and she's doing the exact same thing he is and like overthinking it and freaking out. So while Clark is doing his freak out thing, he gets a knock on his door, and the person that knocked on his door was one Mixix Pitalik. And I swear to God, I'm saying this again. When we had the episode with Professor Ivo, and Professor Ivo actually put on his parasite costume, I said then that his parasite costume looked exactly like Zarkon from Voltron Legendary Defenders on Netflix. So now, when Mixix Pitalik showed up and he opened the door, I'm like, Mixix Pitalik looks exactly like Lotor. The artist that did Voltron Legendary Defenders has to be the exact same artist that are doing My Adventures of Superman. Mixix Pitalik is basically Lotor. So, and then what also I thought was cool, the person who was doing the voiceover for Mixix Pitalik was actually Wally West from Young Justice. So anyway, so he tells Clark, he's just like, hey, listen, I need your help to save Lois because Lois is in danger. And then Clark started freaking out. And this goes to show that Clark is the dumbass. Clark is the third world dumbass. Like I've been saying all season that this Superman, this Clark Kent is actually the dumbest SOB in the entire multiverse. And he continues to prove that every single episode. When Mixix Pitalik told him Lois Lane was in danger, all he had to do to verify this information was to call Lois's phone and see if she picked up. Lois would have picked up the phone. He would have been like, hey, are you in danger? She would have said no. And then he would have known that Mixix is lying. But instead, he believed him right out the gate because he's an idiot, and he flew with him to God knows where. At first, Mixie was like, Superman, I need your help. And he was like, I'm not Superman, I'm Clark Kent. And then he was just like, no, you're Superman. He said that every single Clark Kent in every single universe is Superman. And they started going through like different versions of Superman, like the original animated Superman. They actually showed us the Superman animated series Superman, which was really cool. The different Supermans. So he convinces them to help him because now he thinks Lois is in danger, and both Mixie and Superman, they fly off to go quote unquote rescue Lois. Lois now, she's talking to Jimmy, and then while her and Jimmy are hanging out, they get run up on by the Council of Lois Lanes. So they come out of a portal, and then they talk to Lois, and they're just like, Lois, we need your help. And then she's like, who are you? And then the person was like, I'm Lois Lane, and she's Lois Lane, and she's Lois Lane, and that guy over there, he's Louis Lane, and we're the we're the League of Lois, and we're here to protect like the multiverse. We're chasing a criminal and we need your help. She's like, because your Clark Kent is in danger. And then again, instead of her just verifying the information because she's a reporter and calling Clark to see what was up, she believed them and got on the spaceship. So her and Jimmy get on the spaceship. They tell her about the Council of Loises, like the League of Loises. They say that, a bunch of Olsens are also a part of the council. Jimmy Olsen meets Janetta Olsen, which is a female version of him. The same way how like there's a male version of Lois. And then they tell her that, listen, we're chasing a time criminal, which is Mixix Pitalik, and he found your Clark Kent, and he and your Clark Kent are off robbing the multiverse. And then Lois was like, that can't be because my Clark is good. And then one Lois that had a broken arm, she was just like a robotic arm. She was just like, oh, no, Clark is good. Don't you know? And then they were just like, bitch, ixnay on the arc clay. And then they're just like, well, we're going to do some scans to try to find him. And then until then, you can walk around the ship, but just don't go in this one specific room. So what does Lois do? She goes into that one specific room. She tries to pull up a file on Clark Kent, but the file was redacted and she couldn't look at it. So meanwhile, back in the vault, Mixie and Superman, they go to a vault, and the vault that they went to was cool because it was an Earth Prime vault that was home to, I guess, like the Lois Lane Prime. and it had different items from different heroes throughout history. It had like Stargirl staff, it had the Helmet of Fate, it had like other things from other superheroes. But the one thing that Mixie was looking for, because the thing is, Mixie's a time criminal and he doesn't have the full use of his power. So he used Clark's strength to help him break into the museum so he can steal one specific item, which was the original Lois Lane's tape recorder. So he takes the tape recorder, but he can't transport to where he needs to go because his power is low, but he had just enough power to send him and Clark to the exact place where the Lois Brigade was, which was searching for him. So when Mixie sent him and Clark to that one particular location, the Loises got a ping and they're just like, oh, we found him. And then that's when our Lois, she was just like, oh, well, let me talk to him. Maybe I can talk him down. And they're just like, no, that's what we're afraid of because you're too close. And they end up throwing her in jail and running up on Jimmy. So they all come outside, they bust out their kryptonite weapons, and now kryptonite is being introduced to the show. They brought out their kryptonite weapons, and they attack Mixie, and they attack Clark. They shoot Clark with the kryptonite, and they knock him out. They put him down for the count. Mixie ended up getting away, and then when Mixie got away, he went on their ship, and he stole their ship and used their ship to transport him to Lois Prime's secret private base, or like their secret Lois facility. But our Lois was still on the ship. So when our Lois ran up on Mixie, she was just like, turn the ship around and go back to Clark. And then he was just like, no, because I got to go do this thing. And he said, I'm going to like the Lois Prime headquarters or whatever. And then that's when Lois was just like, well, shit, the computer said that I needed access to the mainframe in order to get the answers that I need. So she was like, screw it, I'm just going to roll with you and we're going to go to this place together. They both go to the thing together. When they get to the Lois Lane sanctuary, like the houses of Lois Lanes, this was another cool moment because we saw holographic images of all the Lois Lanes that were part of the Lois Lane, league or whatever. And one of the Loises that they showed was the Lois Lane from from the original Superman animated series, which for some reason I was more excited about that than I was about seeing the Superman, but whatever. She ended up pulling up all the information that she needed, but it was on like a spear, and she couldn't open the spear, she couldn't access the spear. Mixie ends up going to the secret vault and he finds his little hat, because we all know Mxyzptlk has this little hat looking thingy that gives him access to his power. He puts the hat on, he has full access to his power, and now that he has full access to his power, he, for some whatever reason, he transported the Lois Brigade, Superman and Jimmy, to the place where they were. So now that they're there, I guess he just wanted to destroy them. He's like, it's time to get my revenge. So he brought everybody to where they were, and then when he brought everybody there, he was trying to kill everybody. The Loises were trying to kill him. It was this whole big thing. Clark and Lois ended up apologizing to each other for ruining the date, and then, they ended up saying that they loved each other without actually saying it, and then they kissed and everything, and then Jimmy was like, there's like actual shit going on over here, and then what he did, so then after that, they were running around and everything, and then Clark and our Lois ended up coming up with a way to stop Mixie, because he was opening like a whole bunch of portals, like portals here, portals everywhere, and then while he was opening all these portals, Lois went into one of them, snuck up on him from behind, and removed the hat. So now that he lost his power, the Loises ran up on him. They arrested him. Mxyzptlk, he's now arrested. Janetta Olsen ended up doing the right thing, and she sent Clark, Jimmy, and Lois back to their Earth. The Lois Lane Brigade, they were upset because they were just like, oh, we'll get those criminals later. And then that was it. We never saw them again. So now back on Earth, Lois and Clark had a date, and then Jimmy went home. And then after that, Lois went home, and then she still had the spear. But then when she opened the spear, because she was actually able to access the spear and open it. When she opened the spear, it showed her video footage of Superman basically destroying humanity and like killing a whole bunch of people. And then Mixie showed back up again, because you can't keep a good imp down. And then when Mixie showed up again, he was just like, yes, just like every Lois Lane in the multiverse doesn't win a Pulitzer, not every Superman in the multiverse is good. Because they were making fun of Lois the whole episode. They were saying like out of all the Lois Lanes in the multiverse, she's like the worst one, like of all of them, which I thought was gangster. So now our Lois has some, some things to think about, because she just witnessed her Clark Kent being a bad guy. And then when the spear opened up, there was a piece of kryptonite inside, which is the only thing that can stop a Superman. So now she doesn't know that yet, but she doesn't know what to do. So she's a little like, tongue twisted. And I'm pretty sure when Amanda Waller comes into play, and when the General comes into play, and they start saying that they're trying to take down Superman because he might be a threat to Earth, that's when she's going to start thinking about the stuff that the spear showed her. And it's going to be this whole awkward thing between her not knowing if she can trust her Clark or not. But everything's going pretty good. That's how the episode ended, and thank you for tuning in. So this was cool. Like, it's always nice to get a little multiverse action. It's also nice to see a little nostalgia from like old Superman shows. They said that the Earth that the original Superman animated series was on was 508. I don't know the significance of that number because I know they didn't get 508 episodes and it didn't start on May the 8th. So I'm not sure of the significance of that number, but if you know, put it in the comments and share your questions, comments, and concerns about what you think about this particular episode of My Adventures with Superman. So check me out on social media as always. Check me out on Instagram. Check me out on Twitter or X or Twitter X or whatever we're calling it nowadays. I said share your questions and we'll continue to talk about it. So I don't know where we go from here. I don't even know how many episodes this series is getting, but like it's very good, but it's crazy that they're jamming so much into one season. And like I said, now we're entering like Superman, like evil Superman, like Injustice Superman territory. So because she saw different images of different Clarks, you know, turning evil. So I don't know, but like I said, I'm here for it and I can't wait to see what happens in next week's episode. So that was it, guys. So thanks for tuning in as always. Check out my other reviews because I got Harley Quinn on the channel, I got Warrior on the channel, and we are entering the Warrior season finale next week, so be on the lookout for that. Up, and away as always. Until next time, as always, I'm out this bitch!